Oh.
Welcome to Mind Juice.
Uh,
Oh, I always forget. I gotta do the whole thing. All right, with your host Vlad Sema and co-host Dave Bone, Nick Von Dolan, and Benjamin Goes.
Woo! All right, so
All right, Vlad, hold on one thing real quick.
yes.
The YouTube channel will record what you see. So whoever's talking, you should have their window up in the whole thing. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like as we move the conversation around, you have to keep selecting different people so that they can be seen big.
It does it automatically though.
Yeah, it does.
Not from I don't know, not from me. So okay, Vlad, go right ahead, bud.
All right, so today's
Yo.
episode. Yeah, just shut your mouth. Today's episode is on school. Specifically high school and college, because we just finished with high school, and Ben finished with college. So it's the freshest in our memories, and I think it's the most relevant. So let's go right into it. The first question is, did you enjoy high school? Let's start with Dave.
All right. I gotta say I did enjoy high school, but to an extent. I felt very limited in freedoms. You know, everyone obviously they treated you like a kid because we were kids. So there was a lot of limitations in that sense. But it was also nice at the same time because we didn't have to worry about like stuff that happens in real life, like bills and how we're gonna eat and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true.
Did you like your school lunch?
Well, I usually packed lunch, and I packed it myself, but my parents provided the food. So, all in all, I'd say my school lunch was pretty good.
Okay, great. What about you, Nick?
Did I enjoy high school? Yes and no. Yes, for the same reason as Dave. It was a lot more, I guess, lightweight, but no, in the sense that it's a stressful time. You know, as much as you might want to disagree to it, high school is hard. Like, maybe not academically, but it's not necessarily the easiest in terms of your social life per se, or anything of that range. It's stressful. There's a lot of things for you to figure out at that time. So I feel like those were the parts I didn't enjoy so much, but that's the part that everyone kind of has to experience. So it doesn't make it all that bad. Okay, everyone but Ben Goes. I see those.
Was your body changing, Nick?
Yeah, my body. Yeah, I grew breasts. I started bleeding out of my vagina.
Nick, you do know this is live in public, right?
Oh, that's awkward. I had no clue. Thought this was a private call, but it's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna agree. For me, I was stressed out almost every single week because there was always a test on at least one test a week, and I was always stressed out about those and getting my homework in on time and stuff. I think that took away a lot of the fun. But I was also in like a lot of hard classes that expected a lot. Okay, Ben, what about you? Ben, what was your favorite part about high school?
Seeing you people every day.
That's very true. You get to
Hey.
see your friends every day.
Yeah. The year that I left high school and went off to college while the rest of you were still in high school was a really lonely year. So best part of high school was having not just all my friends, but all my friends of friends and stuff like that. So that was nice. You want me to say my least favorite part?
Sure.
All the work Um, I never really stressed about it because, what do I care? Um, and as time went on, I did less and less of it, so that was great. But there was a lot of it, and it was time consuming, and it ruined my day because I couldn't have my nights.
Okay, you say all work, but I know that like busy work is really bad, but was there any good work that you appreciated?
Um, I liked Mr. Hahn's class, writing those essays and stuff. Um, that's about it. The rest,
Why?
the rest of it was busy work.
Why
Because
did?
I actually got to use my brain and use the knowledge that I have in his class. I got to make something cool with it. Whereas everywhere else, I just filled stuff out and read stuff, and it wasn't fun or it wasn't um, interesting, or engaging. Whereas writing essays for English took work, and it was something you could be proud of, and it was something that you made, and it was engaging, and so I like that. But of course, you know, considering that I was in high school for a very long time, not much.
Okay. What about Nick and Dave? Do you guys agree with Ben?
Uh,
Um,
on what grounds?
on was a lot of the work um, pointless to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone knows it, not just the students, the teachers. You get into college. I've had almost every professor at when they introduce themselves, they're like, "I'm not here to give you busy work," because that was left for high school. Not half the time, 99% of the time when I turned in an assignment in high school, I just did it to write the answer down. I didn't learn much from it. I didn't learn, if anything, from it. I just did it to get the number on the top of the paper to pass the course.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, I would say that it was more of a good way to teach time management. Even though it was like all busy work for the most part, it was more of like, how am I gonna allocate my time? How am I gonna make this work in my schedule and stuff like that?
Mhm.
On top of clubs or whatever else academic or extracurricular you might be doing. So it may have been to some extent pretty much busy work, but I think it did help us, like know how to do work, even though it might have not been extremely useful work.
Hmm.
Like you're saying in college, if you put in the time, you're gonna do better, right? Like in college, the professors aren't gonna give you homework. They're just gonna be like, study if you want to do well, basically.
Mhm.
But in high school, it was like, no, you have to do the homework. It's required. So it's just kind of like preparing you to be independent.
Mhm.
Statist.
Statist.
Wait, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of my homework in college is required.
Well, yeah, but you don't get handed,
Ditto.
3 sheets of paper to do at the end of every class. At least not here. By the next class, you'll get how it works for me here is I get an assignment and they'll give us, plenty of time to get through it. Maybe it has to do. I mean, our major's the same, Vlad, but
Hmm.
in comparison to Ben, maybe it has to do something like, you know, ours is on the computer and it's every assignment is a project per se, so it's not like I can just uh, open up a textbook and answer 3 questions, like they gave us in high school.
Hmm. Okay, and that's a lot more rewarding. It's not so much as write down the answer. You actually have to go and research
Hmm.
and read the textbook and all that until you get your answers.
Right.
So I think college is more engaging, and I guess that makes it better than what high school was.
Maybe.
Why then?
I wasn't particularly engaged by high school. I mean, by college. Well, either. But college was almost a step down for me, I think, because it wasn't any more interesting, and it wasn't any better quality, and it was just less work. So, like if you asked me how my day was while I was in college, I would immediately start talking about work because like college wasn't even a real thing for me. It was just totally irrelevant to everything. But whatever.
All right. So what were some of your classes like?
30 kids. Teacher takes attendance with a clicker. She lectures for a little while, straight out of the textbook, mind you. Like, if you bother to read the textbook and go to the lecture, which, who would do that, right?
Just verbatim.
Verbatim. Like, you know that some poor graduate student was told, turn this textbook into a PowerPoint, and then the teacher is now reading off the PowerPoint. You know, same examples, you know, it's just ridiculous. So, none of the kids cared. No one went to class. There was no talking in class, really. No one was engaged in asking questions. And there'd be some homework, but, you know, it'd be easy. It'd be almost busy work. Yeah, I mean, it's different for me. It's all busy work to me, really, because it's all easy to me. But I don't know. It's just to me, college is just a very cold place. I mean, and it's different for me because I didn't have the social life so much, at least my first year. Because I didn't live on campus and I worked every night. But, you know, just the classroom experience at college was it was nothing. It was I didn't learn anything, and it wasn't engaging, and, you know, it was a disappointment to me.
Yeah. My first year was identical to yours because that's exactly what my computer science teachers did. They had the same PowerPoint that they've been plainly reading for the past 15 years. That hasn't changed in 15 years. And they would go through it, and they would see half the class asleep, yet they would continue with their PowerPoint just to get it done, just so they can tell their boss that they taught that day. So they don't really care about the students. And then this year, I have one teacher who's really engaged with the class. She's has so much energy every day, and it's great. And in that class, I learn so much. And then as my math teacher takes a 5-minute break right in the middle of class, which nobody else does, and that's a big relief. And it helps keep the class engaged and stuff like that. Like, I feel like this year a lot of my teachers care more than first year, so I'm saying positive about learning and stuff.
Good for you, bud.
Thank you. I need to do better this year anyway.
That's
all right. Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of a testament to the size of a college, right? So you go to Stony Brook, and you need to deal with, you know, your professors need to deal with numbers that are a lot larger than the high school size classroom that mine have to deal with. And I think, one, you know, Ben, you said your professor takes attendance with a clicker. That there's no interaction when you do that. You don't even have to look at the students. You just kind of have to, you know, watch shirts and shorts fly by and hit the clicker every time you do. So your professors never get to know you, and you never get to know your professors. And I feel like that creates sort of a laziness between the professors and the students, where the professor may have in the back of their mind the idea that they have something better to do with their time, because they feel the students are thinking they have something better to do with their time as well, and that's sort of a vicious cycle where the professor begins to not care about the information they're giving to the students because they feel the students don't care about the information they're receiving. Because dealing with large crowds, if I may, about like with orientation, when I had to sort of introduce all the freshmen to the school and I had to sort of lecture them on certain things here and there, you know, just because that was what work we were given to do. They didn't want to listen because they were able to hide in the crowd, you know. They were sort of just and I could notice that, and seeing that demoralized me and made me care a little less. But those that did care kind of helped, you know, brighten things up. So I feel like it's sort of it's a social experience, I believe, in part, professor-student relationship.
So who should be responsible to change that? Should it be the
At
teacher?
first, the professor, I feel, because the professor sort of opens the door day one. They say, welcome to my class. Let's make this ours. Or they decide to do the opposite, where they say, they sit down, slam the textbook down, and flip it open day one and say, all right, let's start throwing facts at the students. Because it's not just about receiving information, it's who you're receiving it from. You need to be able to respect and want to listen to whoever is talking to you in order to retain information. At least that's how I feel about when I listen to someone. I want to have respect for them and feel like I know them. And I feel like a lot of professors fail to do that, and that's why some classes are a lot less engaging than others.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that. I think that it's the student's responsibility to be engaged first.
First, I believe it's important for them both to be at a certain point, but day one, you would think it's the student's idea to.
I think that if a student doesn't ask a question in the first day, then there's going to be no questions, and the professor is going to conclude that the class is uninterested, and then he's not going to be interested. I mean, they have PhDs. They dedicated their lives to this subject. Like, they're obviously passionate about this subject, and if you ever went to a professor's office hours and you had a legitimate question, they would jump out of their chair and run to a whiteboard and immediately start helping you. Like they love this stuff and they like teaching kids. But I mean, let's face it, you go into a college classroom with 200 kids, and maybe not 200 kids at your school, Nick, but at Vlad's school, in my school, we have 400 kid lecture halls, and 190 out of the 200 kids are not interested at all. Like, they're totally there just to get the credit hour, just so that they can get their degree. Well, that's like a huge trauma to the professor's soul, because he's really passionate about that subject, and he's in a room filled with people who couldn't care less. So, I mean, we can only expect so much from that type of, from that guy. And I know this from experience because I was a TA for a couple of econ classes, and like, immediately I felt it. Like, I was a TA for 400 kids. My first semester, I did tons of things. I held lots of office hours. I wrote supplementary notes. I held review sessions. Just tons and tons of work and effort. And no one really cared. No one, no one said, "Oh, I like economics now." People came to see me in office hours, just wanted, grade help, which is fine, but it made me put in less effort the second semester because, what reward was there for me? So, I think that, sure, the professor should come in on the first day and be happy and, try to be engaged, but at the same time, you're paying for it, so it's what you want from it. You want the professor to be engaged. Well, engage him.
Okay, so if a professor cares about his class, but the class is still mandatory, the professor should try and make it beneficial to their future, not just for the fact that it helps them get a degree. So if a class is not important in someone's life, then why should it be taught?
They are important, but it would take mastery of the material to realize that. So, like,
calculus, Calc 2. You go to that class, you get above a C, and that's all that matters. You can move on with your major, or you have the approval to move on to major. But beyond that, you never use Calc 2 anywhere in life.
Dave, you ever use Calc 2?
Well, do I ever use Calc 2? No, but I will be. I will be using it in my physics courses. So it does come into play depending on your major, right? So if you're a physics major, yeah, you're going to be using calculus. But if you're an art history major, I mean,
How much?
they're not going to require calculus. They're going to require some other math.
Give me a percentage. How much of Calc 2 are you going to use?
God, I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's good to have a strong basis in calculus. Even though I know in Calc 2 they had me do, like over-the-top calculus, more than I'll probably ever need. What it really helped me with was getting, like my strong fundamentals down, so I can just be able to do calculus easily when it comes to it, when I need to do physics problems.
And I can say that you use calculus and econ all the time at the higher levels. I don't know. I don't even remember the differences between Calc 1 and 2, but graduate level econ is all calculus. So.
Can you give me examples?
We make econometric models that forecast the future. To do that, we need continuous curves, and we need to find data points on it and stuff. So it's probably Calc 1, but I was required to take Calc 2 for my major, so I assume that the further up you go, the more complex the stuff is. I saw one model once that was basically like a swirl, and it's obviously not applicable to economics, but like this is what the graduate student was working on in the office with me, and he had to find some data out of this swirl. So it is used, but even not Calc 2, which is so obviously useful for engineering and mathematics and economics and the physical sciences, that I'm surprised that you picked it. But even if we go, like of all the subjects to pick, but like if even we went to like a philosophy class, philosophy helps you live a better life, and the kids who are taking it are thinking, oh, easy A, but if you master the material, well, then it provides food for thought, and it gives you a guide through your life. So.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything has a purpose. Like there is a reason that people dedicate their lives to this field. So if you're in that class, you should be assuming. I would assume that you expect it to have some relevance in your life, or at least the professor would hope that you would expect it to have some relevance in your life, and so he's going to teach you the subject matter, which is what you want from him, really. It's up to
I can agree to
you to apply it, because it's everyone is different.
I can agree to that. At least the one point you had about, you gave the example about philosophy. I took psychology out of nowhere last semester. One, because I saw it as a grade booster, but two, because I enjoy those kinds of classes where it's not sit down and be talked at. It's have a conversation with kind of a class, and every class she at the end she summarized for us. She's like, here's obviously what we had gone over today, but I want you to walk out and think about this. And it wasn't like you knew she wasn't going to ask about it again, but she wanted you to walk out, thinking something you hadn't thought about before. So I would say, for lack of a better word, that class, even though I'm probably never going to quote-unquote use it textbook-wise in the future, it was really good enlightenment, I would say, which I got value out of.
So it sounds like she was more interactive with you guys.
Very true. Yeah, but it's a lot easier to be more interactive, I find, in the humanities than it is in maybe a math science. Interactive, I'm using very loosely too, because you can obviously interact at the same level, almost anywhere. You're socializing, you're talking to people, and that's interaction alone. But having people try and, think on the same, I'm coming up with this on the fly. I feel like she was very interactive, yes, but
more personal.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to put it. It was things that
And
you
that
don't
helps
typically.
a lot.
Right, you don't think about things like that in school. She would say something that was a little bit, that you wouldn't expect another professor to say. Maybe it was slightly inappropriate, and everyone laughs, and everyone loosens up because they feel like they know who they're hearing things from.
Yeah, that's exactly how Mr. Han's class was. Every morning, at every start of the class, he would go to every person and ask them how their day was or how their weekend was,
Hmm.
and we would spend about 15 minutes on that, and then we would start the actual class. And just being personal like that and connecting with your students helped a lot. It helped keep us engaged, and everyone had a good time. So that's why Mr. Han was my favorite teacher in high school. But so he was an English teacher, right? And you might think that English teachers have it easier. They can spend time to do that. But his class was super hard also, and a different teacher might have thought that using that 15 minutes would, or that 15 minutes would be necessary to teach material in the class. But Mr. Han used it to get to know us, and through that, it helped us, probably at the end of the day, it helped us learn more than the second teacher would have been able to teach us. Does that make sense?
Hmm. I see what you're saying.
Ben? Do you agree?
I love Mr. Han.
Me too. He was so good.
I've
And he would
only-
say,
I've only ever met 3 people in my life who didn't like Mr. Han, so that says something. Vlad, move on with your questions.
okie dokie.
I feel like we managed to cover some of them just in our conversation.
Yeah, but Vlad actually wanted to talk about high school, and we've been talking about college for like half an hour.
Well, I don't want to, yeah. This is a conversation, so I'm not
I know.
taking my questions one by one. Okay,
Pick and choose, Vlad, because we won't have time for all of them.
yeah, that's fine. Should high school be optional? And why?
Where's Dave been?
Where have I been? Should it be optional? This is a tricky question, I think.
Unless you're me.
That's hard to say because, you know, being an impressionable young teenager at the age of 13 when you start high school, I think that's about when you start high school.
14.
14, whatever, around there. You don't really know what you want, right? So it's gonna depend where the child, you know, wants to go with their life, and they have no idea where to go. So I think a high school is a great place to experience just more, you know. I don't know what you would do in place of high school, so you know, I don't know what the other options would be. But I guess, you know, it being
Bike
optional,
riding every day.
being optional, I think would be a good choice as long as there's other options like going to a trade school or something else that a kid might want to do. That, you know, that will still lead to something for their future. So I don't think you need high school exactly, but I do think that you need you know, something to help mold you as you're in your adolescence and growing into an adult.
And who better than the government, right, Dave?
And who better than the government? Well, you know, there's still private schools, so.
Bound
There's
by
that.
government standards.
I don't feel, like, thinking back on it, I don't feel as if high school academically kind of helped me decide. You know, going to my math, science, English, foreign language didn't help me decide that I wanted to be a computer science major. I think I feel like just my desires, things, I went home at the end of the day and I had a routine. There were things I retreated into, and I was like, well, this is obviously something important to me, and why don't I make something out of it? And I feel like you did the same thing too, Dave, on your own, even though you made the point that high school can help mold you. I feel like, yeah, go on.
Well, yeah, no, I think that high school helped me narrow down what I didn't like.
Right.
So it helped me realize that I don't want to be a writer, or, you know, I don't want to be a philosopher or anything like that. It didn't necessarily make me want to be a scientist or anything, but it definitely, those were the things that I preferred, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think it also gave you a unique opportunity too, because there were things like wood shop and things that you could explore and things you could do, um, because clubs are so easily accessible through the school system. Whereas Ben, I feel as if you're building some tension that you don't need school to start a club or be part of an activity. But I feel like, given our circumstances, it was the perfect catalyst that we could use. There are better ones, but nothing that is viable at the time. I can't not be in school while every other kid is in school. Um,
Hmm.
I felt, at least. I don't know. Food for thought.
All right, Ben, what do you think?
Well, I'm in favor of making everything optional, right? As long
We
as,
know.
as long as we're not hurting other people. And I could argue that if something's not optional, you're hurting that person. So, since I'm against hurting children, I'd have to say that I think school should be optional. Just abstracting away from what school gives you, it's also insanely oppressing, right? I mean, Vlad was just saying that he was stressing every week, and some kids don't handle that stress as well as others. You have kids who have breakdowns, you have kids who drop out of school, you have kids who cry themselves to sleep every once in a while, and that's not healthy. We shouldn't be subjecting kids to that. Additionally, you go to school, you're bullied by the teachers, you're bullied by the students. High school is vicious in its ostracizing of outcasts and stuff. It's not, to me, it's not the best place for a kid to be not the best place for a kid to be trapped for 8 hours a day, every day.
Mhm.
So, I think that school should exist so that you could go there, but I don't think that you should have to go every day. I don't think that you should have to go every year. And, I really think that, if the child doesn't want to go to school, we should let him not go to school, because otherwise we're imprisoning him. We're saying, you don't have a choice. As much misery as this brings to your life, we're just going to throw you in there anyway. And so, my strongest qualms with school is just the moral component of forcing children to be in a place where they don't want to be every day for most of their day, for most of their childhoods.
Now, Ben, I agree with you, but at the same time, as a kid, I would try to not go to school as much as possible, but my parents would force me to. And in the long run, I'm happy that they did force me to. So I just didn't have the foresight that they had as a child.
There's foresight and there's abuse. Like, I know a lot of things, right? And I often give good advice, right?
Yeah.
So, I never force you people to take my advice. You know what I'm saying? I would hope that parents could sit down and have a rational conversation with their children about why they need to go to school, to learn exactly what they learned yesterday, and fill out all these worksheets that aren't going to help them learn. And even though the teacher's going to be covering the same material for the next 3 weeks, um, it's one thing to sit down and discuss that with your child. It's another thing entirely to say, it doesn't matter what you want. I mean, we have to remember that children are different too. I mean, for me, I did not have to go to school every day. I didn't have to go to school every week, and I could have gotten by with the grades and stuff. I learned more outside of school than I learned in school. So, on the one hand, there's, what else will kids do? On the other hand, there's, why do they have to do this? So, Dave, you have a point where schools can be useful, and it might be good to go to school, but my point is that we shouldn't force kids to go to school.
I agree with you, Ben, and I agree with Dave. And I think that school is not really effective. It shouldn't take 4 years for someone to know what they want to do with their lives, or get what is it called when to get experience in like 4 different subjects or whatever. It shouldn't take 4 years. Teachers should pick and choose the most important stuff from a class and try and make it as short as possible. And then if someone likes that subject, there should be like deeper levels into it. Like high school offered computer science in junior and senior. I took it in junior and senior year. And it was really inefficient. But here in college, it's one semester long, and I mean, even that's not effective. But the most valuable place that I learned computer science is actually at my work. So if class was maybe like work, then I think going to school would actually be more useful.
Right, learn by doing.
Not even in class, you get stuff to do, but it's useless stuff.
Right. It's amazing how much. I mean, Dave is. I want to point at Dave for a moment, because you're not even a computer science major, Dave. But I swear, if you jumped into a second level computer science course here, you would ace it and you would do well. And you didn't do anything in school, as far as I'm aware.
No, I took Java in high school.
Okay, that's fair, but that didn't help me coming into college for my C++ classes. You took the intro course to Java, did you not? Which is
I did, yeah.
One semester or 1 quarter. No, it's 1 semester high school. 1 semester, and it didn't teach me much. It gave me basics, but coming into computer science in full, I feel like it gave me nothing. And so my point still stands that I swear, if you hopped into a computer science course right here at my school, or even at Vlad's school, wherever, you would do well. And that's a testament to not the school system giving you things that you need to be successful, but that came from you, I feel. I don't know.
That's just like what Ben was saying. If you care about something, well, he wasn't saying that exactly, but he learned more outside of school than in school. But when you care about something, you can put time into it independently, and that's what I did, and I learned about computer science on my own because my school doesn't have that.
Right. But it will once you move to this one. So
yeah.
I'm glad too. And then Ben can see all 3 of us in one swing. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, that'd be nice, because, God, Dave, you live far away. Vlad lives further away. I've never been to see Vlad, but whatever. Maybe I'll fix that. My problem is I don't know if I'd like Vlad's friends. So, like, it's one thing to go to Dave's school, drive all the way out to Dave's school, because I love all of Dave's friends, but like Vlad's friends, who knows, right?
Ben, I feel like we could put you in any friend group and you would be the center of attention.
I can play the crowd, but it doesn't mean I'd like them. So, based on the messenger chats that I get, probably not. But who knows how legitimate those are?
Okay, guys, and I just want to say here, check this out. Junior year of high school, I took Java one semester, half a year. Senior year of high school, I took a full year of Java. First semester of college, I took Intro to Java. That's 2 whole years of Java. I did not know shit after 2 whole years of Java. It wasn't
You did so
until,
well in those classes, though.
huh?
You didn't do so well in those classes, though.
Because they were ineffective. Now, I started to go to work my second semester in college, and that is where I learned everything taught in those last 2 years of Java that I've been doing, and everything. Every day I go to work, I'm learning. Like the learning never stops for me. And isn't that crazy? And it's been like a few months, 6 months. In 6 months, I've learned about 1,000% of what I've learned in the last 2 years. So I feel like with schools, with classes, there's so much more teachers could be doing, and schools could be doing to make it more effective. And can't. It's hard for me to think when I'm on camera. Okay, I feel like a good schools could be a lot more good use.
Try again.
Schools could be better.
Yeah.
The end.
There are better methods for education. Yes, I agree.
Meeting adjourned.
Well, I kind of summed it up there. Well, let's keep talking. So,
No,
I just have one more interesting point.
Yeah.
There are courses, Java courses online, that take like 2 weeks to do, and they can teach you more than what you learn in a full year of Java at college even. So, do you guys think wouldn't that be better than listening to going to class for a year?
I think that. Oh, you want to go, Nick?
Sure. Before I forget.
Have you guys seen this? Have you guys experienced it or seen it?
Yes, but I feel like I have this strategy. I'll call it a strategy, where I like going to class if it's a good class and the professor's engaging and the information being thrown at me is relevant to me. Because you're going to school, yeah, you're going for the degree, but you should want to go, even though you're not really catered to feel the desire to want to go to class every day. But I feel like you should want to go for you. You know, you don't want to go for the grade. You want to go for the grade, but you should want to go just for you. You know, because it's relevant to you, and everything should be about you. Because I'm not going to school for Ben. I'm not going to school for David. I'm not going to school for you. I'm going to it for me. So the information that I get here is good, and I enjoy getting that from professors and writing down notes and having books full of information that I wrote that I can look back on, and it just has this satisfying feeling to look over to the side and see books being filled in with information.
Okay, but you can buy a course online for about $40 and do it in 1 week. It's like a 30-hour course, and that one course will teach you more than your professor could in a full year.
And you can even take notes.
It might do, but the thing about class for me at least is that it pushes me to go to class and to do the work. Whereas like if I had some online thing that I could just take the class online, I could hop on whenever I want. Well, unless it really interested me, I wouldn't go on all the time. I know that. Even if it was something that was really interesting to me, sometimes it's just hard work, and I'll push it off. But if I have to go to class, well, even though it's something I might enjoy, but it's hard work, well, I'm forced to go, and in the end, I think it's good.
Not only that, but you get to meet people.
That's true. And talk to professors and collaborate.
Yeah.
Don't you think being forced to go is kind of a cripple move? Like, I don't have the willpower to study on my own, so thank God that I'm being forced to go to class.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and that's what I like it to be.
I know, but you could be training 3 different parts of your mind by developing the self-discipline to study every day, if you wanted to learn things on your own. So like, I blog daily, right? Not because
Me too.
I have so many freaking ideas, but because that's what I do to self-discipline myself, to push myself. Um, is I have to write something, so I write something. Um, where so I think it's good to have something like that where you can develop yourself in different ways besides just pure learning. Um, and again, I'll say right now that I went to class maybe a third of the time in college. I couldn't stand it. It was terrible. And probably my fault because I didn't like to go to class, and when I was in class, I didn't like it, and then so I wouldn't go next time. Um, but I graduated, so and I think that you could say that I know a lot of stuff, right? So um, maybe I didn't need it as much. I mean, I never took an econ class until I decided to be an econ major, right? So my spring semester of my junior year, I took 5 econ classes in one semester, and that was me jumping straight into the major. Um, so I aced all of those classes because I already knew economics. I learned it completely independently, and so I really think that Vlad's right when he talks about efficiency. Instead of paying thousands of dollars and spending hundreds of hours going to class, for me at least, it was just better to learn it, get it done, and then of course I paid for the degree at the end. But um, I don't know. I mean, whatever helps you guys, right? So again, I think there should be schools. I think there should be teachers, but I don't think everyone should use them.
Okay, last question to tidy this up. Should schools, or is there room for improvement in schools?
Yes.
Yes.
Short and simple. Yes.
Okay.
Can't really suggest. I there's definitely room, and you can see that there's room, but I don't have a suggestion because, I mean, it's easy to suggest possible changes, but it's hard to see them potentially being
Who's
wrong.
responsible to bring about these changes? Is this the students, the teachers, the government?
Everyone. Everyone's involved in education.
And why do you think nobody is moving a finger?
Because it's the government. They don't care.
Dude, we care, and we don't do anything about it.
I actually do things about it. Me and Mr. Bott have organized and are executing an independent study program for the smarter kids at Gittleman High School. And I don't know. I tell kids to drop out of college all the time. So
That's funny. I want to speak in terms of my roommate. I don't know if Jason came up to me today, right? And he came back from one of the offices, and he was like all excited because they're going to give him funding to, me too, and I'll be part of it, but they're going to give us funding to start research. I don't know what kind of research because he's kind of the captain of it, and I'm just sort of helping out. But that, even though we're part of the college system and whatnot, that's being taken advantage of. How many kids are getting money from the school to research something that could potentially bolster everything about their education?
I got funding from the school just to throw a pizza party. So
I know you did. Well, you're a special.
I got interesting news today. We have something at our school called the Energy Garden or the E-Garden, and the Office of Sustainability is running it, right? And my friends and I are starting a beekeeping club. So the guy in charge of the E-Garden had a meeting with the president of our club, Ian, and we're getting an incredible amount of funding to start our beekeeping club because the guy's really excited about bees, which is awesome. It seems like schools just have money to throw at kids if kids are willing to put in the work and have the energy to do it, you know?
That's true. There's a lot of money, and I'm pretty sure that like an entire colony of bees costs $50. But
You never know. But it's interesting.
yeah. So I think that probably the best thing that you could do to make school better is A, make it voluntary, and B, reduce the workload. So I have a blog post out there called "Is College Too Easy?" And it's in response to a newspaper article in my school paper that was written by some nerd like me, who was basically like, "College is too easy. Let's make it harder." And I was like, "Let's make it easier, right?" Because I mean, we're all examples right here, right? So like, Vlad doesn't learn in school, period. And he learns tons and tons of stuff at his job, right? Dave learns stuff at school, but is going to make the most of his life using the information that he learned outside of school. I am pretty much self-taught in everything. You know, so we're all evidence of the fact that what kids do with their free time is often more impressive than what they do with their schoolwork. So I think that if you gave high school kids and college kids more time to do that type of things, then they could start it earlier. You know, so why wasn't Dave building shit in high school? I'm not saying that he wasn't building shit, but it wasn't as impressive because he had 4 hours of homework every night. You know, and it was stifling.
And 8 hours of class every single day.
Right, his whole day is dominated by school. Whereas if you made school more of a, you know, go for 4 hours, have 1 hour of homework type thing, you know, more casual, then you could get your learning and you could get your time to pursue your passions. And I think that would make kids happier too. You know, the depression and the stress and stuff, you know, if school was just less all-consuming.
Yeah, this year I'm only taking 12 credits, so that's 12 hours of classes a week, which is equivalent to less than 2 days of high school a week.
Yeah. And depending on how committed you are, it could be less than 12 hours a week.
Right. And still just as successful.
Right, it could be 2 hours a week.
They have their standard where it's, oh, for every hour in class, we want 2 hours out of class, or maybe it's vice versa, you know, which is ridiculousness, because no one I've ever met in my life has spent anywhere fractionally near that amount of time in or out of their classes.
So in law school, they say 3 hours of studying for every 1 hour of class. And you actually need it, you know, like you're reading, you know, books that are this thick and like 10 of them, you know, and you're reading them all this semester. And then you got to get ready for class because the professor will call on you and ask you a whole bunch of really grilling questions about the cases and stuff. So I will say that in law school, kids are studying all the time. Like I walk into the high school, I walk into the law school any time of the day or night, and there's just kids on the floor with their books just all over the place. It's like finals week every single day. And it's really funny because you look right across the street at the pharmacy school, and they're not studying at all. They're in the courtyard just doing nothing all the time. There's always music playing. They threw a carnival on a Wednesday night, you know. So it's pretty funny, the contrast. Like I go over to the pharmacy school to study because it's nicer over there. They have a lot of money. And then I walk back over to the law school and it's like, you know, a funeral over there. You know, everyone's just in their books. So, you know, if any of you ever went to law school, you'll know where they get that idea of studying for X amount of hours for every 1 hour of class.
Hmm.
That same ratio, 3-to-1, is what my calculus professor suggested we did last year. And yeah, it probably wasn't that much. It's probably about 2 hours for every hour of class. But I did actually put in that much work for calculus.
Yeah, I mean, for calculus you do, because one problem takes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you want to work through a couple of problems, I mean, and that's what it is. It's training your mind, right? So like when you're just memorizing stuff for a class, so let's say econ, for the hell of it, and you're just memorizing what opportunity cost is and stuff. Well, that's easy. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, unless you actually want to ace your test and you actually want to understand the concepts instead of just the definition. But for those types of things, you don't need a lot of time. But if you're training your mind to use logic and reasoning and puzzle through something, to think in a certain way, like calc or legal questions, then yeah, you should probably take some extra time. Dave, any concrete suggestions on making school better?
Honestly, I wouldn't know what to say, but I do really agree with what you were saying, cutting the school hours back down to 4, because I didn't even think about it, but like you're totally right. It was just a huge time sucker. I was in class for 8 hours in that, or school, not even in class for 8 hours, but in school for 8 hours. And then I go home and have to do homework. Well, and then with the 4 hours left of the day that I actually had, well, I wasn't going to spend that doing individual studying. That would be crazy. So I did it watching YouTube videos or Netflix or playing video games, stuff that I really enjoyed, because that's the only free time I had. Right. So you're definitely right. I think that if I just had more free time to learn things on my own, I would have been way better off.
All right. Anything else, Fled?
No, that's it. Any last words?
I would encourage everyone to check out the blog, because I wrote a tremendous amount of stuff about this topic. So instead of me mentioning other things right now, I'll just say go see the 6,000 words written on the blog about this topic.
Insane. Proud of you, Dan.
Dave, tune us out.
All right.
No. Nick, do you know what next week we'll be doing?
I had an idea, right? A lot of things are still in the works in my mind, so nothing's concrete. But I was thinking something along the lines, mostly because it's come up in classes recently. But I was thinking of a concept where I question history, and I'm not talking about questioning like the validity of history, but it's almost educational, but I'm going to make it sort of just a casual talk, right? Ben's like cringing over there.
Are you sure it's something that anyone but me can keep up with?
Yes, because we are all relatively advanced.
What kind of history?
Let me get to it.
You seem to be questioning the metaphysical
Let me get to it. I wanted to, all right, short and sweet, history versus the future, right? I want to bring up concepts, comparing the two and where we're headed, I guess. Because while we were talking, I thought a lot about how much I hate history, because this is a whole conversation about school. So that popped up in my head, and I was like, well, the field of study that I'm in right now has nothing to do with history. It's all about where I'm going ahead of time. Everything is very wishy-washy right now, but that was one that's a potential for next week. And I'll flush things out as I go, but yeah.
That sounds very cool.
I'm gonna have a lot of reading to do.
Okay, you don't have to do too much. A lot of it I want it to just be opinionated but informed.
Someone has to give the official opinions. So.
Okay, all right, fair. Informed opinions by Ben Goes.
Right. I'll just crack some of my Mises books and read those. Right, Dave?
Hey,
Right.
You'll be flattered to see, Ben, what I brought to school with me. I did bring Against
book
the
I
State.
gave you years
I
ago.
brought Against the State and Economics in one lesson with the letter you wrote to go with it.
Oh, good. I guess that maybe you'll read them now.
Right, because I sort of may need one
They're
for a
relatively-
potential mind juice discussion.
That's true. They could be.
Alright,
Alright,
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready to be tuned out.
Mind juice.